Welcome back to the Fit 40 podcast, where we simplify exercise and nutrition for busy parents 40 plus so they can improve their health and feel amazing. Today's topic is going to be, are your calories too low? This is a question that so many people ask on a daily, weekly basis that I feel like I have to address it. And honestly, I'm surprised I haven't done a full-on episode on this till now. But here we are. Let's talk about it. But before we do, make sure that you are following or you are subscribed wherever you're watching or listening so that way you don't miss another episode and you catch great information just like this every single week. So let's dive in. Now, if you've asked yourself, are my calories too low? In all honesty, probably. The amount of calories that you are aiming to consume is most likely way too low. And I say this because I see what people are saying, asking what calories they should be getting. And I'm looking in Facebook groups all the time. I have people reach out to me and people are saying 800, 900, 1,000 calories. And that is nowhere near the amount people need. But even if they are aiming for this and saying, oh, I'm eating these calories, why am I not losing weight? Chances are they are in the group of people, which most people are in, who underestimate the amount of calories that they consume by roughly 500 to 1,000 calories. Okay. They have studied people's behavior over the years, and it is clear we suck as a human race at acknowledging how many calories we actually consume. Now, the average person who is a little overweight is about 500 calories off, but people who are in the category of obese, they misinterpret their amount of calories by up to 1,000 calories. So if you're aiming for, say, 1,000, but then you're consuming 2,000, you're either staying stuck or maybe you are a body type where that's too many and you're now gaining weight on that, even though you're aiming for that 1,000 calories or 800 or 900 or whatever. Okay, that could be a gigantic factor. Another thing too, when it comes to all of that, like the things that typically throw people off, one is the scale, like measuring, because a lot of people will use cups, for example, and say, okay, I'm measuring with these cups because this will give me an accurate measurement. Well, not quite, because you can pack that cup to the brim or you could do a loose scoop. And that could be a big difference when it comes to calories. Now, in that specific meal, is it going to be a gigantic difference? Probably not. It'll be like 50 to 100 calories. But if you do that multiple times a day, that could easily knock you out of a deficit and potentially even put you into a surplus. So this is why it's always best to use a food scale. And for anybody that's like, oh, the food scale, that's so laborious. Well, you just don't know how to use one properly then, because it should be no different than just preparing your meals how you normally do, but it just so happens to be done on top of a scale. Like if you're making a salad, for example, and you have a bowl, throw the bowl on the scale. You dump the salad in. All right, there's that much. Zero out the scale, put in your protein, see how much that is. You are literally doing nothing else other than zeroing out the scale just to make sure that you know exactly how much is going in. And if you're doing anything more than that, then it's a learning curve issue that will be resolved. It's not, oh, this is too hard for me or this is too laborious. It should not be. Okay. The other thing too, when it comes to people underestimating how much they eat, is not taking into account the BLTs. What are the BLTs? Bites, licks, and tastes. So when your kid does not finish their chicken nuggets, are you having one or two every single time or most of the time? Okay. When you pass by your pantry, are you grabbing a handful of chips or nuts or something like that? Or when you're in the office, are you walking past your coworker that has the candy on their desk and you're like, ooh, I'll just have one. And then you do that throughout the day over and over again. And again, we're adding up all these calories, not all in one go, but throughout the day, and it's throwing us off. Another thing too is liquid calories. Are we counting the things that we are drinking? Because a lot of people go to Starbucks in the morning and basically have a gigantic dessert in a cup and don't take that into account because they're like, oh, this isn't food. Why would I track it? But you could be consuming 500 to 1,000 calories in that mega mocha kappa frappuccino crap. I'm not a big coffee drinker because honestly, to consume coffee, I would probably have to make it into one of these gigantic dessert versions. But if you are a coffee drinker, just take that into account. Like, hey, how much creamer am I actually using? And again, if you're using the scale and you're making it at home, like, first off, if you're getting it from Starbucks, every single tracker in the entire world has Starbucks in there, and it's like a chain restaurant. You could almost guarantee you're going to get about the right measurement if you just look up Starbucks creamer. But if you're at home, all you have to do is put your coffee on the scale, zero it out, pour your creamer in, bang, you know exactly how much you used. All right. So that's another one. And also sodas, because I know pop is really big and a lot of people love it throughout the day. But this is one of those reasons why anybody who says diet soda is horrible for your health is leaving a lot of context out, because when you replace regular full sugar soda for diet, it takes a ton of calories out of the equation, and that could result in weight loss, and that weight loss could result in you improving your health over time, which is why there are studies that show this, that people who substitute soda for diet soda see improved health markers and lose weight, even compared to water. Because when you're trying to get away from these full sugar sodas, it's not all or nothing. It's, oh, there's like this midway point that kind of gives me a little something. And then as you go, you can work on incorporating more water and less diet soda. But diet soda can be that great first step. But without getting totally off topic, back to the original point, okay? This could be throwing off your calories. And along with that, how consistent are you being? Like, how consistent, if we were going to be dead honest right now, how consistent are you 100% of the time? Are you doing your tracking Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday until we get to happy hour? All right. Are we forgetting certain days of the week where we work extra late? So then all of a sudden we're just grabbing something and not really throwing it in our tracker, and we're not taking that into account. So then when we look at our weekly amount of calories, we're not getting exactly what we are consuming because we're leaving a lot of stuff out. So now we're in this headspace of, why am I eating this many calories and not seeing the results I want? Because all of the calories you're consuming are not making it in there. Okay. So another way to know how, or to know if you are consuming too few calories, is how your body responds. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you put in your tracker. It doesn't matter what kind of targets you're trying to hit. What is the end goal is, what is it doing to my body? Okay. Because if you have 1,000 calories in your tracker, but you're consuming 2,000 calories and you're losing weight, then does it really matter? Like, as long as we're right there and we know, hey, I'm probably consuming more, but by doing it this way, it's helping me lose X amount of weight per week, and I'm good with that, then who cares? As long as you are filling your body with nutritious foods most of the time, that's the key there. But the results matter. So when it comes to rate of loss, are we getting that zone of 0.5 pound to 2 pounds per week on average? I'm not saying losing every single week, because that doesn't happen. That's a pipe dream. That's fairyland. That's la la land. That shit does not happen. So let's get that out of our heads. You're not going to lose every single week. But when you look back on the month, are you anywhere from 2 to 8 pounds down? And then if that's the case, awesome. You're in a deficit. Oh, look at that. Because I'm on my iPhone, I have the the fireworks going. So you're welcome, YouTubers watching this. And then the other thing too, to know, are we eating too few calories, is loss of lean muscle mass. Now, this could be from being on a calorie deficit for too long. It could be under consuming protein, taking a break from training, not sleeping well. There's a million reasons for lean muscle being lost. But assuming we have all of those other things taken into account, this is a big one, because this will be evident if you're losing really, really fast. Because if we are going past that 0.5 pound to 2 pound per week average, you will see that that elevated rate of loss is not all fat. It's also lean body mass. And that's the stuff that we want to keep around: your muscle, your bone. All that stuff is going to help keep the weight off long term, and it's going to help you feel amazing, and it's going to help you eat more while losing weight. So let's keep that. That's why we want to lose the right amount, not the most amount. All right. So let's say you're in a place where you're like, okay, what do I do based on where I'm at? Well, let's go through the scenarios. If you're losing too much weight, then let's add in 500 calories for every pound that you are over. Now, before I say this, just know the first couple of weeks of a diet, you can lose a good chunk of weight. That might be inflammation. It might be because you've been eating these foods that have been irritating your gut, and all of a sudden they're out of the equation. So wait a month and then see where you end up. And then let's say after you've done the month, if you're over that 2 to 8 pound average, And honestly, it should be more like 2 to 4 because we really don't want to be getting close to that 2 pound range. Honestly, a pound a week average is probably going to leave you feeling the best, if not half a pound. So aim for like 2 to 4 pounds per month. And if you're in that sweet spot, you're good. But if you're over that and you're like well over that, take into account how many pounds over. So, like, let's say you're a pound or two over that. Add in 500 calories per pound, because if you eat 500 calories extra 7 days a week, that's 3,500 calories. And 3,500 calories is how much a pound of fat is worth. So, that's just the like ideal math. It's not going to be 100% perfect. There's a million other factors that go into it, but that's a good rule of thumb to use. Now, a lot of people, when you say 500 calories, they're like, ooh, I don't know about that. So if you're one of those people, cut that in half. Do 250 calories, add that back in, and then see how your body responds. And if you can get yourself into that sweet spot where you're able to lose about a half a pound to a pound per week on average, good to go. Now, let's say you're losing that much, like you're in that range, just keep going until you hit a plateau, because eventually metabolic adaptation will happen. You are going to be a smaller body size, which requires less calories. So because of that, sometimes people will hit a plateau and will lose less weight as fast, or will stop losing weight completely. So what do you do when you hit that point? Well, best case scenario is to add in steps if you can, like add another 1 to 2K a day if you can, add another workout in throughout the week, like aim for activity first where you can improve on that. And then if that's no good, then decrease your calories by a smidgen. Not a lot, not a lot. You never want to really go below that basal metabolic rate number. So if you're at that number, then where do you go? You should not go any lower, but at that point, it would make sense to do a reverse diet / diet break. So work your calories back up to the point where you get to maintenance and chill there, build muscle, feel good, do your thing. And your body will recalibrate and do its thing. And then a few months later, go back down into a deficit. Do it in phases rather than trying to hit it all at once. Because if you do it in phases and give your body what it wants and respond based on how your body is responding, it'll end better and you'll have a much easier time keeping the weight off. Now, let's say you're not seeing any weight loss whatsoever with whatever you're doing, and your consistency is good and your weigh-ins or sorry, let's say let me back up here. Okay. When it comes to no weight loss, first off, we want to examine your tracking. Everything that I just talked about above in my notes before, when it comes to the BLTs, the liquid calories, the way that you're measuring food. Okay. Make sure that all of that is in check and you're doing everything properly. And I can tell you right now, back in college, when I first started tracking, it's very easy to mess up on things. Like I thought that I was supposed to get, I think, 100 grams of rice, and I measured out 100 grams dry when it should have been 100 grams cooked. And it was a night and day difference. Just know these rookie mistakes happen. So give yourself some grace. Just understand that it's a learning process. All right. And then once you've done that and you've checked all those boxes, see if anything happens. And if for some reason it doesn't, also take into account your consistency. Like make sure that you're actually doing this 7 days a week, bare minimum 6 days a week, because calorie counting is a 24/7, 365 thing where you need to understand where you're at. Otherwise, what are we doing it for? Otherwise, like unless it results in making better food decisions and you're still moving in the direction you want. But I'm more getting at the fact that if you're only tracking like 2-3 days out of the week, it's pretty pointless. Like you need to be doing it very frequently and accurately so that you're in the driver's seat and you can make the best decisions for yourself going forward. And then the other thing we want to touch on is your weigh-in and measurement methods. So make sure that you are doing your weigh-ins, doing your body measurements when you are first thing in the morning, empty bladder, before taking a shower, before having your coffee, before anything. Make sure that you do it then. And also for the ladies, make sure that you're not doing this when Aunt Flo is visiting, because that will result in a little bit more inflammation, water retention, and that could affect the results. So take multiple measurements if needed. And honestly, that's the best way to do it. That's how I do it with the Fit 40 clients. Is we'll do 1 week out of the entire month and say, okay, we're going to do it at least once, but if you can, try and get 2 or 3 measurements. And when it comes to the scale, we also do body measurements and say, okay, let's take our quote unquote best measurements when we get them throughout the week, and we'll use those because they're probably more accurate and there's less factors at play there than when you had the super high measurements. And then along with that, it can help to take a step back and ask, are you in a position where you should even be doing this? Like, do you have the basics down? Because calorie counting is not the basics, it's an advanced way of doing things. Do you have an environment where you aren't starving and low energy all the time? Do you have an environment when it comes to food where you are easily putting you're consuming enough protein, enough fiber, getting fruits and vegetables throughout the day? Because if you don't have those basics down, it's kind of like jumping into the deep end with no swimmies. All right. Don't be surprised if calorie counting doesn't work for you, because it's really hard to hit a calorie goal if your nutritional quality sucks. If you're living on nothing but like drive-in food, processed food, and like frozen meals, like you can guarantee you're going to be starving all day and you're going to feel like absolute crap. And it's going to make this whole process harder, borderline impossible. So make sure you got those down first. And if you don't, and you need some guidance with that, that's what the Fit 40 Kickstart is for. All right. It's 21 days of top level coaching with me where we work on that stuff and figure out why can't we do the basics. And we figure out a way to factor it in through your day to make sure that whatever you got going on, however busy you are. I can tell you these previous Kickstarters, the most recent class, some of the busiest ladies I've ever worked with, and we still made it happen, still burned body fat, still gained muscle, even with everything going on, sickness, work stuff, family stuff. It's all possible. You just need to learn how. All right. So if you haven't already, go ahead and apply for the Fit 40 Kickstart, but just know that the next class, the April class, is starting up as I'm releasing this. So get your butt in there into the Fit 40 family, the free Facebook group, so you have some resources to hold you over. And then come May, I will see you in the Kickstart. All right. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you found this helpful. All I ask in return is that if you had any point in this episode had that thought like, oh, so-and-so in my life, your mother, your sister, your coworker, your brother, somebody has to hear this information because they've said that they've been eating 1,000 calories forever and they just can't lose weight. Okay. Go and send it their way. Hopefully it helps. Hopefully it hits well and they'll thank you for it. All right. So until next time, guys, go kick some ass. I'll see you later.